Well, it's been about, I don't know, I think 10 days, 11 days since Hurricane Helene has hit Western North Carolina, and I thought I'd make a video on some things that we might do differently next time. It's a pretty safe bet that there is going to be a next time, whether it's there's a storm that's stronger than we anticipate, or it could just be that our power lines kind of go off this direction through our property and they go through our woods. A tree could just fall on our power line and we could be without power for a day or so. So these are some of the things that we were thinking about as we're kind of going through this. Thanks, Diablo. Now, I don't want to make light of any of the hardship that a lot of people are facing right now. There's still people probably without power. There's still people who've lost their houses, their businesses, their jobs, and I feel for them. At least for what we experienced here on our homestead, it was bad enough to make you think, but not catastrophic, if that makes sense. So, there were some areas, Diablo, come on. There were some areas that we were less prepared in, and other areas that we're fine in. And so, I thought I'd just make a video on some of the things that we plan on doing moving forward and things we've already done. So as far as what we had prepared, we live on a homestead. We have your basics, rice, flour, sugar. We have meat that we've raised in years past. Now it's all in freezers, so we had to have some way of keeping the freezers going. So we do have a generator for times like this. Our rooster will not stop going. This is the middle of the day, buddy. What are you doing? So, we had the generator going. I had just filled up the lawnmower, and I forgot to use the other. Usually I keep around 15 gallons of gas. I only had 5 gallons, and then the gas stations got insane. So I am planning on keeping a little bit more gas in reserve and then kind of cycling through it. So right now I have about 25-30 gallons of gas. But again, I will constantly be using it for the lawnmower. I use diesel in the tractor, so I'm going to constantly have a cycle of gas. We were also slightly shy on some personal water. We usually use a Berkey filter, and so we just fill it up from the tap. And we were on a well here, so with that, when we lost power, we also lost power to our well pump, and so that was kind of an issue. Me and my wife, we can figure out water. We can, boil water that we get from here and there. But the main issue was water for all of our animals. Right now, it's the end of summer, so right now we have extra feeder pigs that we're raising up for this winter. We're going to process. We have about 15 turkeys that we're raising up that are going to be processed next month, and we have our meat birds. Right now we only have 20 meat birds, but on a normal year we'll be raising anywhere between 40 and 60 meat birds at a time, and sometimes there's overlap. So that's a lot of mouths to feed or water to give, and that also doesn't include the 5 dogs we have and the 8 other pigs that we have that are breeding and piglets. So right now we had a lot of bodies to water, and we were a little lacking on that. Luckily I just didn't put some stuff away, and so we had like wheelbarrows and stuff out, and they had water pooled up in them, and I'm pretty good about keeping the animals' waters topped off. Most of them use a 55-gallon drum, and so that lasted until we got water back. We think that we have a creek that runs behind these woods over here. If I can just show you. So So there's these woods back here. We have a creek that runs back there, but we don't have the easiest access through our property. And the access we do have, when I went back there, a huge tree had fallen and blocking the only path that we had. So that's something I didn't really think about too, is like, okay, let's make sure we have easier access. So this is down our little road that goes through our property. This leads down to what's supposed to be a creek, but this is that tree that has fallen, is all caught up over here. Cutting trails in the woods is already on the plan. We already planned on doing that this winter. So hopefully we'll get that squared away a little bit better so we can have easier access to the creek, maybe in a few different spots. I do feel really, I do feel incredibly grateful for all of our neighbors back here in our little sanctuary. We're all super supportive of each other. You know, they've helped me out just as much as hopefully I've helped them out. And my neighbor has easier access to the creek, so I could always, you know, just hop the fence and go down there. So that's not as big of an issue, but I would like access on our own property just for peace of mind. And then let me take you off this real quick. So this is the next project, and I already had these. I'll walk you over here, but it's these two IBC totes. So I had these, I've gotten these a little while ago, and my intention was to collect rainwater with these. And well, that project just jumped straight to the top of the list. So just yesterday I picked up some what are they called, railroad ties. And originally we were thinking maybe right here, because we have access to this downspout and this downspout with some little replumbing, but it's right in front of where the electric comes into the house, and it's not the flattest ground, it kind of slopes away. And so upon further thinking about it, I think we're gonna try to put them right here and just come off of this downspout. And so I'm gonna build a base out of the railroad ties. So that'll be a video coming up pretty soon. I'm still waiting on 2 plumbing parts to get shipped for these. And once those get shipped, I'm gonna build the base probably the next couple days. And then once I get all the plumbing stuff, I'll go through that, and that'll all be one video. So we'll have that for our animals. That'll be our animals' water. I mean, it can be up for us too. You know, they have the whole pouring water down the back of the toilet thing, and I was just using random water that was in buckets left out and stuff like that. But that water was like, you know, stagnant and sitting there for a while, and it was, you know, kind of growing stuff. Yeah, so that water was a little stagnant, and you know, so we had to like kind of shock it with some bleach. Hopefully you can see me now. I'm kind of in a shaded area, but when this, let me just back you up a little bit. When this first happened, or when power first came back on, I immediately came out and filled these 2 bins that I've had, and I hadn't really had a use for them, but the lids seal really tight on here, and you know, they're all black, and so I just filled those up as, yeah, I didn't know if power was going to go back out. You know, it has gone out a couple times. I think it's when they're like hooking up a new run. There are still there are still people without power, and so, you know, I think they have to turn it off in order to add a new line. But I just wanted to have water that we have access to, in case something happens before I get those rainwater collection tanks. And once I get those rainwater collection tanks up, I still have to wait for it to rain. So, you know, that'll be a little bit. You know, I have all these buckets right here that I showed you. Those are all great, and they had water in them, but a lot of them had, you know, like feed residue or you know, old paint or just, you know, whatever. So I've also been in the process of just cleaning all of my buckets out and trying to keep just a few for feed, and then the rest kind of just clean for whatever we need them for, and then keep up on cleaning. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. One thing I have had 2 of these. I believe they're Aquitainer. Yeah, Aquitainer bins. So I had 2 of these. They've been sitting next to the other. They were sitting on the other side of the shed for a year, and every time I walked by them, I said, I should probably fill those. I should probably fill those. Then I really should have filled them. Luckily, I was able to go to my buddy's house and fill them. His well pump was working. But I like these. They hold 7 gallons of water, and then this comes out, and you can flip this. Flip it on the outside, and then maybe. And then once you put it back on here, you can set it on the edge of your counter, and I don't have it all the way screwed in, but you can set it on the edge of your counter, and as long as you vent it, you can have, you know, running water to wash your hands, or to, you know, put in your coffee pot or whatever. It just makes it a really easy system. This one unfortunately sat outside too long, got a crack in this corner, but luckily it's on the top corner, so we still had this one full. This is one we used at the sink, and then we could just fill this one up with the other water as needed. So yeah, I like these. We actually got a couple more of these. Showed a video in our pantry. We now have I believe 5 of them full at all times, and again, we'll cycle those out, you know, probably every 6 months. We'll just use one, fill up the animals' water with it, refill it, put it back in, write the date on it, and go from there. So I believe we're doing pretty good on water right now, especially have that rainwater catchment. And then I also plan, and this will have to be for, you know, a while down the road, is I want to build a bigger roof structure at the top of our property that has maybe 1,000 or 2,000 gallon tank. So that's one area of improvement. We got the gas covered. We're going to cycle that through. We got water covered. Food we were always good on, just because we keep so much food. But on that topic of running a generator, I'm going to bring you over here real quick. All right, so as far as electricity goes, we have the generator, and that runs off of gas. And well, actually, our generator runs off of 3 different fuels. It can run off of gasoline, it can run off of natural gas, and it can run off of propane. Before this whole natural disaster thing, one thing we were thinking about doing, just as a convenience, you know, quality of life thing, is having a big, you know, 500,000 gallon propane tank put on the property, and then plumbing it into our kitchen and into our laundry room, so we could get a propane stove and run a dryer off of propane. I like cooking on gas propane a little bit better, plus it works during power outages and other things like that. So that's something we're still looking into, which we could then plumb, you know, wherever we want the generator to sit while we're in the middle of, you know, a lack of power. We could have a propane line stubbed out there, and why not? I could also stub one out over where we keep all of our barbecues and not have to worry about propane as much. So that's something we are looking into. We'll see how much it is, and you know, that could be one other you know, that could be one other source of power, you know, in terms of hooking up to the generator. Our generator, you know, can be loud. That can be annoying. It is outside. I do put a cover over it. It's nothing crazy. It's just an upside down IBC tote frame just to keep the rain off of it. But, you know, you can still hear it in the house, and it's kind of annoying. So we also ended up investing into a Jackery system. So these are solar generators. Now I am not sponsored at all by Jackery. My channel is way too small right now, but you know, I like the product. I have a couple friends who have Jackery items, and they've worked well. So we got a big Jackery Explorer 2000 Plus, and it comes with another battery. They're shipping everything. Every piece has come in a separate box. I'm guessing a lot of people have probably ordered them recently, but you know, it is what it is. But this can hook up to the solar panels, so we can keep it, you know, topped off with that. And if we need to, we can always supplementally charge it with the generator. And the thinking is, we had the generator running for 2 or 3 hours in the morning, 2 or 3 hours at night, and that was to basically keep our freezers cold. And we had our fridge hook up to it, and that was enough to keep our fridge cold. So we didn't lose any perishable stuff, which was great. We did have to condense our freezers down. We kind of had things separated, you know, different types of meat, but we condensed it all down just to make it easier. And then we also had our Starlink hooked up to it, so we had internet access, because we had no cell service, and the only way we could get a hold of our family was through having the internet turned on. So they kind of knew that in the morning they could reach me, at night they could reach me. But my thinking is, with this, we could have this running, at least the internet, all day long, have the solar hooked up to it, get solar while we have good sun, and then if we need to, we could power it with the generator, you know, because this thing will charge, you know, from plugging in about 4 hours if it's depleted. So if it's not depleted, which it shouldn't be, the 2 or 3 hours in the morning and at night should keep it topped off. So that's the plan with these. So we'll have this with an extra battery pack. They can run off of these solar panels, and then we also opted to get the little Explorer 1000, and we got this for a couple different reasons. One is we can move it from room to room to room. So you know, the in-between time that we got hit with this thing is like so when the hurricane hit, it was kind of in between summer and fall, so it's still getting up to about 80 degrees during the day. And when you're outside having to chainsaw trees and limbs and stuff like that, there's kind of no break from the warmth. And it was pretty warm at night too. So even having a little fan going would be, you know, really nice. So we kind of got this just for that purpose, as well as we'll be able to take it camping, or, you know, if we wanted to put, you know, a tent in the woods, we can, you know, power it with one of these. And this one can also run off of the solar panels. So it does have the connectors over here. So this can also run off those solar panels. So we tried to get kind of duplicate means of working it all. So a backup on a backup on a backup. So kind of the last plan with the power, in terms of power is when we were back in California, we were in Northern California, and there was a fire season, and there was, you know, horrible forest fires that would take out hundreds of thousands of acres. And it happened in Southern California, Northern California, all over. It happened in different states too. But one of the things they would do is do these rolling blackouts to not overload the system. And I think the worst one we had was, I think we were out of power for 3 or 4 days, for no reason other than not overloading the power grid up there. So it's kind of frustrating because you didn't do anything wrong. There was no natural disaster yet, but it was what it was. But we were on city water, and so we always had access to showers, albeit cold, running water in the house, so it wasn't that big of a deal. The lack of power is an inconvenience at most. The lack of water is a little bit trickier. So our goal is, we talked to a buddy who's hopefully going to come look at our well and see if we can get it wired so that we can easily plug it into our generator and at least power the well. If we can get it so we can power some other stuff in the house too, that'd be great. But again, you know, as long as we have running water, you know, that would help offset some of this rainwater collection we're doing. You know, at least we'd have access to our well water. The animals can get the rainwater. And I don't know if you can see it, but I'm pointing to our IBC totes. So yeah, that's kind of everything we've got going on in our brains so far. Another thing I'm going to work on with the Jackery system is, you know, it'll come with a bunch of cords. There's cords that you can plug in to a cigarette lighter and charge the thing. There's a cord for the wall outlet for both the 2000 and the 1000. There's cords for the solar panels. You can get extension cords, which we might get for the solar panels, just so they can be outside and maybe one of those can be inside to play around with that. In order to actually use that, you might need a little extension cord inside to get to where you need to go. You might need USB cables, as USB-Cs, USB-As. So I'm going to put together like a little pack, like a backpack that has all the cords in it. It'll have any like extra cords we might need for our cell phones, or for power, like little power banks that we can like attach to our cell phones if we, you know, are out there doing something. It'll have a couple of little extension cords, and it might have, you know, a few flashlights. Basically like a little bag that just goes with all of the power stuff. That way it's all together, we know where it is. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is, you know, we moved here from California, and so we had a pretty extensive earthquake kit, which had, you know, some blankets, it had candles, it had flashlights, it had batteries, it had can openers, it has, you know, just your everyday emergency kind of stuff. And we kept that all intact here, and that actually came in quite handy, so we could, you know, immediately open it up. You know, it's an old toy chest that my wife had when she was a kid. It sits in the corner of our living room. We use it as like an end table the rest of the year. So we have that. It has a good store of all kinds of emergency items. I also have a backpack with that we can like take, that has like medical, you know, stuff in it. So, you know, all that stuff we were pretty well squared away on. So, you know, we might replenish a couple things here and there with the earthquake kit, but, you know, other than that, we're doing pretty good. So yeah, hopefully some of that has been helpful. At least give some stuff to people to think about. Hopefully my ramblings kind of made sense. Yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you. Have a good night.